Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorry I Like This podcast. My name is Ezra, and today I'm joined by Caleb, as always. Caleb, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, I'm I got a lot to say. I have a lot of emotions. I just saw some I just saw a trailer that just dropped a little bit ago. So I am kind of reeling from that. We literally just watched it just a second ago. So I'm doing good. I have a lot to say. I have a lot of strong opinions today. So I guess I'll apologize in advance if I go a little too crazy. So but it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're gonna have a good time today. We got a lot to talk about. We have some Xbox layoffs and studio closures. Sony had a weird moment in their sort of PC evolution. We heard about the Switch 2. Uh, Caleb, you played the Final Fantasy 16 DLC.
Mhm.
You also selected a book club for us to have our next book club game. Um, and I have a mystery game that I have not revealed to Caleb. Uh,
Mm.
that I played and beat over the past couple of weeks. And I'm going to throughout the show, I'm going to be giving Caleb the opportunity to guess. I will not be revealing it until we get to it, but I will give him the opportunity to guess. If you're in the audience, you can feel free to guess as well. Uh, so, Caleb, what
Mhm.
is your first guess?
So I'm not going to give the one I think it is right away,
Okay.
but I will. So Ezra, let me put the criteria of what this is, of what Ezra told
Yeah.
me this game is.
I gave you one hint.
He gave me one hint, and it's that it's a highly controversial game of last year. Well, I shouldn't say highly. I don't know if it's highly, but just controversial game. Um, so I'll put it in that type of criteria.
Yeah.
And so my first guess, and I guess it wasn't really so much of a controversy, but it was just kind of more of you either liked it or hated it type of game. So I this isn't the guess that I actually think it is,
Okay.
but I am gonna since it's fresh in the mind, I'm gonna say Assassin's Creed Mirage.
Okay. Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah, that will be one of my guess. I got to think on a second guess. That's not the one that I think it is,
Okay.
but that
Okay.
is one of them.
Well, we have some news to go over in the meantime. So, to start us off, I guess we're kind of starting off with the bad news, and then we got some good news, and then we got some bad news, and then mostly good news after that. Um, just talking about the Xbox studio closures that happened last week as of recording this. Um, we saw them close. I mean, they closed a number of studios, mostly under the Bethesda umbrella. The two uh, bigger studios, or the two sort of most notable studios, I guess. Um, Let me make sure I have my information right. Uh, they closed Arcane Austin, I believe, which recently released Redfall, but also had a really stellar history with the Dishonored franchise and all sorts of other games. And they also shuttered Tango Gameworks, which, if you don't know, they released Hi Fi Rush last year, which was one of the most critically acclaimed games of the year in a year stacked with critically acclaimed games. It sold decently. It uh, it hit all of the marks, and Microsoft still shut them down. So I mean, it's been a PR disaster for them. I can't think of any other way to put it. It's I've been thinking about this for the past week and a half, and I'm still kind of reeling from it. I still don't know exactly how to react to it just because it feels so out of left field in some way. Because previous layoffs have felt like, or previous like closures and layoffs, there has been some semblance of sense, I guess. Um, Even though I don't necessarily like, they still suck and I don't agree with them, but it made a little bit of like I could reason, I could understand the logic behind
Right.
those layoffs. I cannot for the life of me understand the logic, especially of shutting down Tango Gameworks. Um, that studio has made great games. Hi-Fi Rush was again a game of the year contender for a lot of people. Um, and to see success rewarded with punishment is incredibly strange.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just signals a really dark time for Xbox, for the industry. Um, yeah, I don't know what were your sort of thoughts and reactions to this news?
Well, um, you know, I think you hit it on the mark. You know, it's a really dark day for Xbox. Hmm, in that I don't really understand the move, to be honest with you. I mean, here's the thing. It's like when with acquisitions, this happens a lot, especially in the film industry when, you know, when there's a big company acquiring another big company, usually, the smaller studios are affected. There's a lot of shutdown, there's a lot of selling off and, what have you. But the move to shut down four different studios within Bethesda is it's puzzling to me because they fought so hard last year and almost even a half a year before that to get these, like, to get Bethesda and to get, you know all that was acquired for it, and to say what we were going to use it for and what we were going to do this and that. You know what I'm saying? Through the
Yeah,
several court cases, they fought so hard. I mean, this isn't even talking about the success of Five Rush, but the fact that they fought so hard about it is something that puzzles me. Now, granted, especially now this goes into the legality of things and speculation, but I almost wonder if part of the move was to show to avoid future um, blocking. In other words, of like,
sure.
say the FTC were to come back and be like, "Hey, you are not doing what you promised, and we need to take you back to court." Which is, to my knowledge, is still possible that could happen.
Yeah,
I don't think any company's out of the woods even after a full acquisition and all the papers are signed. If the FTC or, European, whatever their commission is, if they sense any wrongdoing as far as monopolization, they're going to go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
At least
saying?
they
So,
should.
so I'm just trying to rationalize the business decision behind this. Because it's not just financial that I because some of it does make sense and some of it doesn't make sense. Like Tango GameWorks, they I don't think that was going to be taking too much out of their pockets. At the same time, like you said, Hi-Fi Rush was extremely successful last year. I mean, they got a golden goose, and now what I mean.
Yeah.
Usually, that's recipe for they can grow and expand. It's like a good seed that just blossomed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's that issue of that doesn't really make much sense. Now, if you're going to take down certain studios, um, I do kind of see why they decided to go with Arcane after Redfall's fiasco. Um,
That one I can kind of see.
I can kind of see just because, like you said earlier, it's not like with Hi-Fi Rush they had a bad game. This one, in this case, Arcane had a bad game, um, and that was meant to be a big push for Xbox.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, in that retrospect, I think I can see that and why that happened. Um, Although, now that I think about it, and confirm me whether I'm right on this, but wasn't Arcane taking up the Blade game?
It's a different like subset of Arcane.
Oh, different
Yeah,
subs.
this was
Okay,
Arcane
but it was
Austin. It's a different. I think
okay.
it's like the European branch of Arcane is doing the
Gotcha.
Blade game.
Okay, so that's still going on. I
Yeah.
would I would say that's a pretty big. If they did that, that would be um, like it doesn't make much sense considering that's a golden goose too,
Yeah.
depending on how successful it is. I mean, you got a already existing IP, franchise
Yeah.
IP.
That would have been crazy if they
That would have
had
been crazy.
shuttered that. But yeah, thankfully it seems like they're still, and I wonder if part of it is because it's a European studio, there are different like processes you have to go through, and it might be more costly
Right.
to shutter them than to just keep them going.
So yeah, I didn't know if it was the whole bit of
Yeah.
Arcane, but um nonetheless, like, it's trying to you've hit it on the mark of like trying to understand the business aspect rather than the personal aspect of it, because personally I think it's an awful decision.
Yeah.
And but when it comes to these type of cases, some I like to try to look at it on a business end, try to see if why they're making that move, um not to not to necessarily justify it, but to see why they are doing it.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to rationalize what Microsoft is trying to do in the wake of already some really weird decisions from Microsoft that has already been happening of that's outside of layoffs. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of business decisions that are going on right now that they've been kind of wishy-washy on whether or not what their direction as a company is being, and soon we'll probably get that answer, maybe in a
Yeah.
month when they do their showcase. But right now, with the lack of clarity of direction that Microsoft is going, on top of doing massive layoffs like that, not, it's just it's puzzling, it's
Yeah.
perplexing to me.
And it's deeply frustrating too, because it's just like it makes me want to say like, well, what was it all for, right? Like, what was
Right.
the, like you were saying, like they did this whole fight for
Hmm.
like a year and a half trying to acquire Activision Blizzard, and they finally get it. And it feels like the only thing we've gotten
Oh
out
yeah,
of it,
you're right. You're right. Activision Blizzard. I was blending the acquisitions together. Yeah,
yeah,
but
like, well, it feels like the only thing we've gotten out of it since that acquisition finished is studio closures and layoffs. Like,
mhm. Yeah,
again, like, what was it all for? Like, I'm not saying that, like, I don't know. Like, was I against the merger? Kinda, mostly just because I don't like consolidation. Um, but like, can I live with the merger? Sure, especially if it means Xbox is a healthy platform. Xbox is not a healthy platform
mm-mm.
right now, and what I wonder is like, well, then what's the point of Xbox? Because their console numbers aren't
Right. They're not good.
they're not good. They're like, I think I heard like 5-1 with PlayStation.
Hmm.
Like, that's really bad. um
Yeah,
like that's like you're doing a little better than the Wii U.
yeah,
Maybe. 4
maybe.
years later, right? Like, the Wii U sold what? Like, probably close to,
It's hard to tell because their life cycle was so short.
yeah, it was
Like,
that console was a disaster. But the Wii U sold, I think like I think it was like 15 million if I'm being generous in its lifetime. Like, that is a disaster. Um what I will say is Xbox is probably at the, like, if I had to guess, if I'm being generous, I mean, five
mhm.
to one, the math comes out to like 20 million at best, right? That feels like I'm being a little harsh.
Mhm.
So like maybe 25 million. Let's say 30 million just to be
Mhm.
generous to Xbox. That is not good after 4 years. Um I guess 3.5. It hasn't been 4 years yet.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like I understand wanting to push, and I understand like trying the acquisition strategy to get
Mhm.
more things under your belt and right the ship a little bit, but that hasn't worked. And now what do you do?
Right.
And yeah, it is deeply frustrating to me because I would prefer a healthy Xbox, because it's not like PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation is doing great, but they are also not like in the best of spots right now.
Mhm.
They just happen to have better output overall.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, like, it is really annoying. Do you have anything else you want to say about this before we move on to PlayStation, because they can't escape.
Oh no, 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 no. Yeah, if you think I've been judging Microsoft a little harshly, just wait. But yeah, I would say that um, you know, this it just doesn't look good. I mean, that's really all I got more to. I don't really have anything more to say. It's just a really bad taste in the mouth, and it's hard to rationalize things. And I hope we get more clarity as to the reason for these moves, aside from consolidation.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, that's kind of that. It's depressing. Um, this next story is less depressing, I would say. Mostly just kind of funny. Um, I mean, it's not funny for the people who bought the game, um, but so Helldivers 2, runaway success for Sony. Huge win. Um, it's a Starship Troopers kind of thing. It's live service. People are having fun with their friends. It's just going remarkably well for them. As of today, I think, or yesterday, I guess, it has sold 12 million, which is
Wow.
insane. Uh,
And keep in mind, remember, both Ezra and I, especially me, wrote this
yeah,
game off. Like I did not think this game would be that successful at all.
yeah,
So I've gone on record already and said, yeah, I was wrong on this. And,
yeah,
you know, I acknowledge the fact that this is definitely a gold mine of
yeah.
a game right there. But, still haven't played it, but go ahead. Keep
So,
keep with what you were saying.
what better way uh, to capitalize on the market than to uh, add your own account functionality into it, right? Because on PlayStation, uh, you already have to have a PSN account uh, to play games, to play games online. Um,
Mhm.
on Steam, they turned that off because of the like massive influx of players, I guess.
Mhm.
And or I think it might have also been causing some kind of error as well. I'm not sure. Um, but they turned that off for the Steam release and then announced retroactively that they would be turning it back on, thus forcing players to make a PlayStation account. Now, in and of itself, this isn't the worst thing, but you cannot legally make a PlayStation account in lots of countries, many countries. You have to like do a fake address and all that stuff. Like it's just a bad idea to make a PSN account like that. So, the game starts getting review bombed.
Mhm.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff with like a community manager who sort of sides with the devs and
People.
then sides with the community, and now he's fired. Um,
Mhm.
and then uh, and like the devs are taking the heat when it was obviously Sony
Mhm.
messing it up. Steam is delisting the game and also offering refunds to people. It's just going horribly, and then Sony walks it back. Uh, and it's kind of like it never happened. So
But but they still are doing it with other games
Ghost of
now that have
Tsushima,
gone to, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima is one of them. They yeah, they're forcing that through with that, especially with its live service end,
yeah,
because there's the multiplayer um aspect of the game. And I'm pretty sure the game's director was like
hmm,
someone from the Ghost of Tsushima team was like, yeah, just play the story. Don't play the multiplayer.
That's funny.
And, so kind of similar situation to the community manager that was with Helldivers 2. Um, there's that as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, okay. Where? Well, do you have any thoughts on it, Ezra? Or was there anything
Go
that you
ahead.
wanted?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Cook them.
All right, because I might I think I'm ready to start going in on them. Okay. All right. So let let me lay the groundwork here. This happened the day after we recorded
Yeah,
the
that's
podcast.
right.
And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, this is big like this is really big news and we're going to have to wait until we do the next recording
Yeah.
in order to talk about this." So I'm even then I was like wondering, where is this going to go? What kind of conversation are we going to have when 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 we get to recording? And I will say this, like, I just wonder to myself, are you out of your mind, Sony? Like,
Yeah.
like then this does not make any sense. Like, I mean, I get wanting to make sure that, you know, people are signing up for PSN, and like I get that aspect of trying to, trying to get subscriber base up, but at the same time, PlayStation Network is not PlayStation Plus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you know, and the other thing is, you just alienated your whole entire n- international network.
Yeah.
Okay, like yeah, like domestically, it's fine, no big deal. It takes 5 minutes to make a PSN account. You know what I mean? But like you said, for other countries, it's not that easy, and a lot of it is banned from. You're banned from doing that. So I mean, we talked about Helldivers 2 has been a big game for Sony, real
Yeah.
big hit. They pushed really hard in the marketing, and it ended up paying off. To me, that was something that I was really making me very cautious about, was its marketing, because they were showing it so much but yet so little. Um, but it paid off on Sony's end, and it's been a huge hit this year. On the As far as the multiplayer end, it's the game of the year so far, as
Yeah.
far as multiplayer games go.
I could see it
Um,
winning multiplayer game of the year for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and that's a strong base because that game came out it was the end of January or the beginning of February.
February 8th. So yeah, beginning of
Yeah.
February.
So I mean, we'll see where we're at in December, but I can definitely see it having that longevity of, acclaim, and kind of similar to how Elden Ring was, of like, yeah, it was earlier in the year, but
Yeah.
a lot of people loved it. Not saying that it's going to win game of the year. I don't think it's game of the year, but I'm just saying, like you said, it's definitely getting best multiplayer. Well, not definitely. I don't. Again, I don't know the multiplayer games of this year, so you know what I mean. But it's going to be in that nominations list. I guarantee you
Yeah.
that. Um, but this is a gold mine. This is huge. You got a live service. Sony's been like back and forth about live service games in general, and the reason why they wanted to do it was so they can have a hit like this, and
Yeah.
they just smacked themselves in the face
Yeah.
in, trying to get more, to boost subscriber base, as far as PlayStation Network, that they lost out. They're going to lose out on so much like not PlayStation Network, on so much actual sales of the game, because this has prompted several refunds, um, to a point that I believe Steam briefly took it off its
Yeah.
store.
Well, it delisted it
And
in some
yeah,
countries
it
for sure.
delisted. That's right. So it's like, you're losing sales, you're losing players to keep the game and its longevity, because that's what you need with a live service game. If you finally
Yeah.
get that gold mine and you get a player base, you need to keep it. You do.
Yep.
And that's what's made Destiny so successful. It's what made GTA Online so successful, especially GTA Online. Um, because that's where your money is. You know, the gotcha.
Yep. Yep.
We joke about the gotcha, but that
No.
is quite
I
literally.
mean, you look at the mobile game market, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
like I yeah, I think it is one of those moments where you're like, man, people can be really stupid,
yeah,
right? Like it sounds like a good idea on paper, but then you realize you're potentially alienating an entire user base,
exactly.
and it's like, how did anybody, because a lot of people had to be like informed and had to sign off. How did anybody think it was a good idea, let alone that many people,
Yeah,
right? um yeah, it's just like, it's just something that's like yeah,
it's
it just, it does make you realize like, wow, people are so stupid that they can let things like this happen.
yeah.
um
I mean, they're literally going to throw away the money. It is so hard to get a good live service game.
yeah,
I mean, in the past, we have seen it fail miserably with several games.
I mean,
I'm
just, I think like the week of Suicide
Mhm.
Squad released,
Yeah.
right? Like the same week Helldivers released, I think was the, or maybe it was a couple weeks after. Still,
I mean,
like
yeah, yeah,
like Suicide Squad literally just released around the same time Helldivers did, and look at the stark difference in
exactly.
reception, right? Like it is so difficult. You're right. It's so difficult to get a good live service and a really successful live service. And for Sony to just shoot themselves in the foot like that is truly comical. Like it is funny,
Right.
right? Like if it weren't like unfortunate for so many people
Mhm.
across the world, I would be laughing a lot more because it
Right.
is really funny that that happened.
Yeah, and it's crazy that this happens all in the same week as the Xbox closing
Yeah.
of certain Bethesda studios. So it's like it was a wild week last
It
week.
was, yeah. It, well, what was funny is like the Helldivers thing kind of happened over the weekend and sort of like
Mhm.
concluded on like Tuesday, and
Mhm.
I think like a day later,
Yeah.
Xbox announced the closures, and I was like, wow, I'm not thinking about Helldivers anymore. like, like
Yeah.
I, and like, um, it's one of those things that's like, it's almost like it's kind of a good problem to have, right?
Mhm.
Um, like, part of me wonders like how much of this is just no news is, or bad news is better than no news kind of thing. Um, it does make me wonder, like, yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have to see how Helldivers kind of goes forward from here, because things have kind of returned back to the status quo, and things are things are relatively good. Um, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So, okay, we're going to move on to the bright spot of last week. There was a bright spot. Uh, as unfortunate as Xbox and Sony have had it, uh, Nintendo has been trucking along. They've been doing pretty good for themselves. And they announced that they would be having a showcase in June for Switch titles coming out for the rest of the year. So that's actually, we can talk about uh, what games will be there. Personally, I think there's a decent chance we get like Metroid Prime 4. I think there's a decent chance we get um, potentially Zelda DLC. I mean, really, I don't know. Um, but they also announced that by the end of the fiscal year, so March 31st of 2025, we will have the reveal of the, let's call it the Switch 2, right? The successor to the Switch, as they called it. So we have a hard confirmation of the existence of a new console, right? We've been speculating. There have been rumors for the past like 3 years. Uh, so yeah, just the new Switch is happening, and it's exciting for me because it's just like, okay, finally
Mhm.
we have news, and we have uh, we're kind of able to actually speculate on it rather than just like, oh, the we're hearing about the new Switch, we're getting all these rumors. Like, I'm glad that like we can stop with the rumors and
Yeah.
just like, okay, when is it going to show up, how is it going to show up. um yeah, Caleb, what do you, I mean, there's not much to talk about because, we
Mhm.
got, they just said like there will be a new console and you will know about it by March 31st of next year. Um, that's literally all they said.
Yeah.
And, we also got confirmation of a Nintendo
Right.
showcase in June. Theoretically that would be a direct. I don't know why it wouldn't be,
Mhm.
but who knows.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah, I don't know, what do you think?
there's there's two things to unpack with that statement, right? Um, as far as why they needed to make that statement specifically, um, that's the two things that need um
Yeah.
to unpack there. So, the first one being is that the game is like the it's time for Switch 2, right? We
Yeah,
know it's coming. The
it's been time for
you
like
know
3 years.
Right, and things got postponed. Like, they don't have to say it, but let's be honest, they had to. They probably postponed production on it
Yeah.
and tried to do more refinement after the boom that was in 2020 once COVID hit and Nintendo Switch sales skyrocketed.
Yeah. Well, and
And
they're probably, I mean, I what I was hearing and what I think is probably true is that there was or there is a first party game that they are like pushing for to have at
Mhm.
launch, and so they delayed the console so they can launch the game alongside it.
Right,
That's what I was hearing.
which makes sense as a business decision as well
Yeah.
to help boost console sales. But I mean, you got to think during that time it was very much, hey, I mean, it was a sad time. It was very much a sad time. A lot of people were,
Yeah.
losing their jobs, getting, laid off, and people pretty much being stuck inside. So they needed entertainment, and one of the, hey, we got all this time. Maybe it's time to start trying out video games again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just for like a casual audience, and the cheapest console out there was the Nintendo Switch. And what better way to be with family than getting a Nintendo Switch? I'm just like, that's not the main reason, I mean, that's not the main reason why people will go out and buy a console, but it
Yeah.
definitely was one of the reasons that was happening during that time and why Switch sales just skyrocketed. Absolutely skyrocketed, created new boom. Like it was like almost as if they launched a new console.
Yeah.
Like it was that big. And so, I mean, if you're on the business end and you know you have a console in production, but at the same time your previous one is not only returning on its investment but also now doubling its investment. You know what I'm saying, of what it was promised to you. Yeah, give it a few more years before you do the next console. Give it time to do some more refinement, do some more like quality improvements on that console, and once the Switch eventually plateaus, which it's now starting to plateau again,
Yeah.
now's the time to bring it back to bring in the new console. And then at the same time, it's like you said. I mean, actually, I guess there's three reasons to unpack because of what you just mentioned. Like as far as first party games go, that wave of first party games that was on the Switch is over. Like we've 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 finished it as far as like I feel like Mario has plenty of life in the Switch era. You know, uh, Smash had its whole life cycle. Zelda had two big games during the Switch life cycle. Um, you know, I mean, there's a few outliers that never got to be like Metroid Prime 4 never never coming in. But we end up getting Bayonetta, um,
Yeah.
and so it's like we've had quite a quite a large life with the Nintendo Switch, and as far as game development goes, we're probably on some form of a swing of the next wave, right? And there's no better way to introduce a new console when game development is right there with you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's the way I would think of it. I guess I don't know if that makes sense, but you know, it seems like just as I guess my best way to compare it is that like with Square Enix having its wave of games kind of finishing up, wrapping up, we've had that with Nintendo as well, right? We know that
Yeah.
there's next stuff on the horizon. What that is and when we're going to see it, if it's going to be on this console or in the next one, remains to be seen. And there's a lot of burning questions as we get closer and closer, and especially not knowing when that next console was going to be.
Yeah.
It brings into the third question of, I meant the third reason why they had to make this statement, and probably early on before they announced the actual showcase for the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
If they were going to do a big Nintendo Direct, they know that the June Direct would be the big Direct, right? That is just how history has presented itself, right? So a lot of expectations would be riding on the fact whether or not a, a new console will be announced. And if they're not ready to show it off, because like you said, say they have another game down in the pipeline and they want to coincide that first party release, they have to address um, that they're not going to show it off.
Yeah.
Like you said before, you got tired and I got tired of hearing the endless debate of Switch 2 development? Is it going to be the next Switch? Is it going to be something else? You know what I mean? Just constant, like, constant back and forth,
Yeah.
constant false, false news out there. Like, it was just a sticky situation. It was just like they had to address it, and I think that it was a very smart move before we actually get into the wave of news that is in June to curb expectations of when we should expect things.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a smart move by Nintendo.
For sure. I highly agree. If I had to guess, I would say we'll probably get confirmation, or not confirmation. We'll probably get like the reveal for the console in like November.
Hmm.
That's my guess. I think because December is a little close to the holiday season, and
Hmm.
then January people are taking off, and then February is maybe a little close, and March is like that's the month. Um,
Well, if you're not going to release in holiday, what better way to reveal it
yeah,
and boost pre-order sales during the holiday season?
yeah, yeah,
That
for
would be a
sure.
smart move. As far as, I mean, that doesn't guarantee it, but to me, from a business end, it's so important to get things out by holiday. But if you're not going to put it by holiday, it's probably best to do it before you get into November and you start having, Black Friday shopping and all that stuff. Now, I do think it is possible that um, they pull what Microsoft did a few years back with the reveal of the Xbox Series X. Um, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, they revealed the full console then. That's right. They revealed the full console then. Obviously, it was under a project name prior to that, but that's when they announced the Series X and what it looked like,
yeah.
if I'm not
Project
mistaken.
Scarlet.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
actually at the Game Awards,
hmm
they showed the actual console, and they showed the console and gave it a name. And I think
hmm
they had, I think did they have a game or
yeah,
maybe
they did have a
not?
game.
I don't
I'm pretty
remember what
sure.
game it was.
I'm pretty sure it was Senua's Saga. Um,
Really?
what's Yeah, I think it was the first reveal trailer,
Huh.
and I could be wrong on this, but I remember. I think that's when they revealed it. Obviously, we didn't hear any. See, this actually goes into a little bit of a side discussion.
Yeah.
um, uh, they revealed it. Obviously, didn't touch on it for several years, and then they showed off at the Game Awards, and that's all it's marketing. Like they show
Yep.
it off at the Game Awards last year, and that's all it's marketing. Like literally, um, I don't know if you saw this, but they did a tweet um, like a week ago, and was like, make sure to get get Senua's. I forget. It's not. I keep wanting to say, is it Hellblade? No, I don't know. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not sure.
but you know, anyways, that game, it says get it in like I think it was May 20th or 21st, something like that, and it just got memed on of like the marketing in a nutshell for this game in the midst of the studio closures.
Yeah.
So it was just a bad look on Xbox. Like you talked about the PR
Yeah.
nightmare that was going on at the time. But yeah, I've kind of gone off topic a little bit, but you know,
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I think I don't know, it's it's gonna be. I'm gonna say it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun covering a new console.
Mhm.
We haven't had one. I mean, 4 years. Uh, uh, it's been long overdue. Because
Yeah.
Nintendo usually operates on like a 5 year cycle, and this has
Mhm.
been 8 years. We're coming up on. I think this is the seventh year, coming up on
Yeah,
8 years.
it's almost doubled its life cycle.
Yeah. So, and that hardware is groaning under the weight of new games. So it'll be good to just get some of those constraints off. Get the devs working on bigger and better hardware. I mean, I can't. I mean, if the Zelda team was able to accomplish what they accomplished on the Switch hardware, imagine what they could do with PS4 level hardware, right? Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I just think it's really exciting. Do you have anything else you want to say about the Switch before we move on?
Um, no, I think that's it.
All right. Well,
Um,
we have arrived at the second guess for Caleb to
oh,
guess
okay, we're at the second guess.
what my mystery game is.
Okay, so I'm going to say, and this one I can kind of see. I thought about this one, and while we were on the podcast, and I mean, like while we were recording, and I still am sticking to my first. I mean, I'm still sticking to my last guess as the one I think it is.
Yeah.
Um, but I did think of this while we were recording, and I'm going to say second guess is Hogwarts Legacy.
Okay. Okay.
So
Definitely a controversial game from last year.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's the second guess.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, with that, we're going to move on to our next story. We're going to be pretty overloaded on Square Enix stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
so yeah. So Square Enix, they sort of rolled out like a new business plan, basically. Um, they're making so the long and the short of it is they're they're moving away from exclusives, and they're moving away from smaller projects. So think your Octopaths, think your Triangle Strategies,
Mhm.
your Harvest Stellas,
Foam stars.
Foam Stars, just like all of that stuff, all that sort of fun, small stuff. And they're going to be focusing more on your Final Fantasies. I mean, Kingdom Hearts has got to be in there. Dragon Quest, Nier is probably in that mix.
Yeah.
And they're big franchises. Visions of Mana is part of this push, or will be part of this push, I imagine. Um, so yeah, and they announced some layoffs in their North American and European
Yeah.
offices. Sounds like they weren't game dev jobs exactly. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong. Um, but
Well, I
it,
think some of it has to deal with and I could be wrong. I think it has to deal with casting at
oh
the same
sure,
time. Like like working with more of the behind the scenes team working with like English voice actors and stuff. So
yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest hits right there, but I could be wrong on that. But I don't know.
yeah. But there's not too much to say about this specifically. At least, they are sort of. I mean, you could go into high detail about like, okay, they're making calls about like the creative business units and doing a bunch of shakeups with the like structures of the company and stuff. But uh, but the long and the short of it is, it to me it's kind of a bummer because I liked seeing those smaller projects. Um,
Mm, yeah.
and I just think it's kind of a shame that they're going to be focusing so heavily on only their big franchises. At the same time, if they, I mean, maybe they're able to sort of bounce back after making some of those big hits. Because, like, Final Fantasy, I have to imagine Final Fantasy 17 is going to be massive. Kingdom Hearts 4 is going to be
Hmm.
massive. Dragon Quest 12, huge, right? Like, so some of these franchises are going to be popping off in the next, you know, 5-6 years, I would say. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, it. I think you've hit the mark in that it's sad to see like the idea of smaller titles going. Um, like the trying to think of how to put it is the on one hand it's it's kind of nice to see them put a focus on their existing IPs because selfishly it's like yes, more. You know what I mean? Of the stuff that I play, but at the same time, it shows that they're taking less risks and of something that I probably could have enjoyed. And you know, it in hindsight, it's a business strategy, and it's probably more of the smarter way to get back on track.
Yeah,
Um, especially saying after so much we talked about it in the last podcast of how much um, Square took risks on certain games and they did not pan out at all, right? So that aspect of it, I could see why they want to shift their focus to existing IPs that they have that are big IPs and produce more output on that. Um, as far as the multi-platform focus, I think that's a smart business move. I think we've talked about this before about you know the pros and cons of exclusivity with certain games, but I think with Square, I think that has definitely affected certain successes of their games. Like, um, for instance, I would say with Final Fantasy 16, having it just on one console rather than at least putting it on Xbox as well probably really shifted a lot of consumers to not buy it, right? Because I think and I've had this thoughts before with Final Fantasy 16, and I try to look at that game with an outside perspective
yeah,
and its marketing cycle, like its marketing that it had as far as trailers and stuff go. I mean, they had a great marketing team. They did a great job with marketing that game.
Yeah.
Only issue, I think it was, only issue was the fact that it was a PS5 exclusive. I really do think that really
Yeah.
hindered it. Because if you are if that even showed up in a Microsoft showcase, right? I feel like you would get I
Probably
think you
would
would
have
get
been
more
doubly
right.
successful.
Yeah, I mean it would be extremely appealing to newcomers, right? It it seems like the type of game that is a very simple story. I mean, wasn't quite so simple once you played it, but
Yeah.
um, as far as its marketing goes, it feels like a Game of Thrones type of game, um, mixed with you know some fantasy elements and a typical kind of Hamlet type story. Let's just
Yeah.
put it that way. Like almost Shakespearean type of thing. Like it would appeal to me even not knowing that was Final Fantasy 16. If you slapped a different title on that, it would be way appealing to me,
Yeah.
right? So my point in that is I feel like having a multi-platform focus like that would really help. I mean, look at Kingdom Hearts 3 as well. I mean, I think it was the most successful Kingdom Hearts title, if I'm not mistaken.
It was. Yeah.
Um,
Sold like
and
5
I
million
know
in
it
its first
I
month or
know it did
something like
really
that.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it did extremely well. Let me put it that way. But I didn't know if it was better than two, um, as far as sales wise. But I guess inflation and all that stuff makes things different. But um, I guess my point is that was on both PlayStation and Xbox,
Yeah.
right?
The series, so Kingdom Hearts 3, as of 2022, has
Uh huh.
sold 6.7 million copies,
Gotcha.
which is really good.
Right. And especially with that game, I mean, it's extremely appealing to American audiences because it's got Disney IP in it, right?
Yeah.
If you made Kingdom Hearts 4 PlayStation exclusive, I guarantee the sales for Kingdom Hearts 4 would be way down
Yeah.
compared to 3. And it's sad to say, I mean, I'm looking forward to 4 and I think it's going to be great. Unless unless it's a PS5 exclusive and they throw in like Star Wars or something, like what I mean, like
Yeah.
a really good emphasis on Star Wars, and then I don't know, maybe it sways because the power of Star Wars is quite convincing to consumers.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. Um,
You throw Darth Vader in something and the
yeah,
numbers just will go up.
yeah, and so needless to say, I think that's a very smart strategy. Um, you know, as far as the multi-platform, it does suck with the layoffs, and I feel weird about just doing sequels,
Hmm.
or what I mean, follow-ups to already existing things. I always
Yeah.
feel weird about it of just doing that as a company, but you got to do what you got to do in order to get back on track. So
Yeah. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I agree. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a while before we see the fruits of any of this. So,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's you bring up a good point. Like, they're going through a whole new CEO.
yep.
Um, ownership change on all levels. Like the
Yeah.
change happens on all levels. Um, and that inherently comes with layoffs too. Like it just and it usually takes time for that return to come. It's always going to get ugly before it returns. Um, and that's I guess a new CEO doesn't always mean layoffs, but it can lead to it usually
Yeah.
because a new pair of eyes means a new pair of decision, like a new way of decisions being done as a company. So, yep, I think that's
Yeah.
that kind of wraps up my thoughts on it.
All right. Well, moving on. We got some shorter stories to go over
Mhm.
here. We've got more Square Enix, obviously. Yoko Taro is working with Yosuke Saito and Keiichi Okabe, who are basically his
Mhm.
team at this point. Basically, his
Mhm.
like creative team. um, uh, and they are making a new game.
Yeah.
And Yosuke Saito said, "It may be near, it may not be near," and that's all he said about it. So, uh, yeah, I don't know if you have. I mean, we talked a little bit about this a few
Mhm.
podcasts ago. We talked about like near repent, right? So theoretically,
Oh yeah.
um, but I don't know if you had any other thoughts about it. But we thought we should just sort of put that out there.
Well, I mean, I don't have much thoughts other than like it's a very safe way of saying it without getting in trouble, but at the same time, you don't make that comment unless you're making an ER game. I'm sorry. Like I
Yeah,
guess that's the way I see it. Like it's you know, you don't you don't go, "Oh, I can't say it if it is or it isn't." Like for instance, like, "Oh, are you working on the next Star Wars movie?" I can't say if Luke's going to be in it or not. Um, but that's all I can say. You know what I mean? It's like you're just kind of giving away
yeah.
that Luke's going to be in it. But I guess here's another like there was actually someone else that made a similar comment like in the past week, and this is not gaming related news. It's actually movie related news,
Mm-hmm.
and it for Inside Out 2, the one of the could have been it might have been the producers or the director of the project was like, yeah, Bing Bong might return. I'll leave that to you. Oh, he was asked if it was if he would he would return, and he'd be like, I'm just gonna let you guys think on that, or something along the lines of like it was something like that, and I'm just like, okay, so you're confirming that he's in it. Also, that's a bad idea
Yeah.
because it ruins the point of the last movie. But not the point, but one of the big points of the last movie. But yep. Okay, I keep getting sidetracked, and going on side tangents, but nonetheless, I think it's totally a near game.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Sony's
and
or Square Enix isn't gonna let that series
right,
die. That's not gonna happen.
absolutely, it's too successful.
Yeah.
Like now it is too successful. Like
Yeah.
it's just inevitable. How or what they'll do, that's up for Yoko Taro to decide on what he wants to do with that series. But
Yeah.
absolutely, we've we've gone on already too like from a business side of things, we've gone on already too long without doing a follow up to something that was super successful.
Yeah.
Um, from a business perspective, that's the way I would see it. So
I agree.
it's time.
It is. It's time. I can't wait. Uh all right. Uh so we had the Kingdom Hearts Missing Link beta,
Hmm.
another beta. Uh we had that happen, and I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to it. It kind of just came and
Yeah.
went. I'm the only thing I want to say about this is like, okay, I hope this signals uh, a release not too far in the future. Uh, maybe sometime this summer. Theoretically, that's my hope. Um,
Yeah.
we obviously don't know, uh, but I think I've said multiple times now. I think it would be smart if they had a Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer sometime this year,
Mm,
and they released Missing Link right after,
yeah.
because that Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer is going to drive numbers on the internet. What better way to market your
Yeah.
game than to have
Exactly.
a Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer right next to it?
And that's what they did with Dark Road. You know what I mean?
Yep.
With not missing link, with Melody and Memory
Yeah.
when that first got announced. I believe it was Melody and Memory,
Was it
or
Melody
it
and Memory or Remind?
might have been both.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't really remember either. I think the initial reveal was with Remind. The actual like
Yeah.
drop was with Melody of Memory. Like they made the yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right.
I mean, they had a history of dropping all this stuff on a random Tuesday before, so
That's true.
I mean, it like you said. I hope we find out stuff soon.
Yeah.
Um, I'll save the speculation more to a different podcast because pretty soon I'll be talking about Summer Games Fest predictions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
but
have I think one more podcast
mhm,
we have one more podcast until June, and then that week will be and then the week after
right,
that is Summer Game Fest. So,
yeah, yeah, we're winding down,
or up.
but or up. Yeah, that's what I meant. We're winding up. Uh, until then, like we're getting
Yeah.
pretty close. So. But yeah, I mean, as it kind of my final thoughts on it is just more of the I think it kind of sucks that like we don't get any word on the development to Missing Link ever.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And we went so long in the dark between the new year to the beta. Like we didn't even know what the status was on the beta until like a few weeks before they were going to do it, and then they delayed it. You know what I'm saying? Again, on top of that, so like by a few weeks, but nonetheless, it does kind of suck to see like, hey, we have no progress of when things are gonna go. It's like, thanks for playing. We'll take your feedback in and
Yeah, that they just don't say anything about it.
right.
um yeah. Let's tie some of this in a little bit with
Okay.
the next reveal that we got, which was that Japanese Kingdom Hearts inspired action game Reynadus. Reynadus?
Hmm. I don't know
Reynadus.
how it's pronounced.
I think it's Reynadus. Is getting a Neo The World Ends With You crossover. Now,
That's
that's pretty wild.
yeah.
I don't think anybody was expecting it. I mean, obviously, Yoko Shimomura is working on it. I think somebody else in the like Kingdom Hearts creative sphere is
Hmm.
a part of it. I could be wrong about that. Let me
I'm
look
not
this
sure.
up. But Um, Renatus, NIS. I guess NIS would have the info. Um, Renatus is set in Shibuya. Um, it's definitely got a very Kingdom Hearts vibe, especially. I mean, it's especially riffing on. I mean, it looks straight out of the secret ending from Kingdom Hearts 3 or Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. Um,
Mhm.
so, mm, I guess it's just Yoko Shimomura, who's the composer for Kingdom Hearts. Um,
Mhm.
so that is going to have Neo the World Ends With You characters appearing in the game, and like monsters and stuff will be appearing, and there'll be like a side story quest with that. Um, the screenshots, I have to admit, look a little awkward because those character models were not made for that engine
No, they
and
weren't.
vice
Nope.
versa. Um, but I can forgive that. I don't think it's the end of the world. Uh, so yeah, like I was seeing some Kingdom Hearts fans who were like, does this have anything to do with Kingdom Hearts? Is this, I would say probably not. Um, but
I would believe it more if there was more of a development team behind it that was like with the
yeah,
actual Kingdom Hearts team. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like I would buy more into that, but
yeah.
I doubt it too. Um, shoot, there was something I was gonna say, but yeah. Well, sorry, I think I interrupted.
No, you're fine.
Um,
No, I agree with that. I think yeah, I mean my take is Renatus is kind of um is carrying on that Kingdom Hearts tradition
mhm.
of crossovers with different things, because that's just part of what Kingdom Hearts isn't in at its core a crossover. Um, so yeah, I think I don't know, Renatus. I've seen footage. It looks cool. There's a decent chance I play it. I'm not like super invested. I know Kingdom Hearts fans are pretty excited about it, but yeah, I don't know. Kayla, did you have anything else you wanted to say about the Reynatus crossover or uh, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link?
I guess the next thing I would say is that um, it's funny because like they actually they didn't just reveal this crossover, which is which is wild to me that nobody nobody thought it was a real thing because they released a poster
Well, they
on April
they
1st.
they know they didn't announce the actual crossover at that
Right.
point. They just had the
They
art.
which everybody thought it was like a April Fool's joke,
Yeah.
At least a lot of people did. I thought it was an April Fool's joke. So I didn't put any thought into it, and then um and then it ended up being an actual thing. I was like, what?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just remember being shocked to see that trailer release.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. All right. Well, we have arrived at the final guessing game.
Hmm. Oh, the final guessing game.
Yep.
Okay.
And so yeah, take it away, Caleb. What is your final guess?
I'm going to say it's a game that was on both of our radars that we wanted to play. got a little um got a little discouraged by its bad reviews specifically, and which caused quite a bit of controversy, quite a bit of stir. I'm gonna say Forspoken.
Okay. We shall see whether or
We
not
shall
you are correct.
hopefully.
So, before the show, we watched a trailer,
Hmm.
and the trailer was for Assassin's Creed Shadows. And Caleb, uh, what were your reactions to the trailer? What did you think? You're the Assassin's Creed fan. Go.
I Assassin's Creed has such a bad taste in my mouth of late that it's kind of hard for me to get excited anymore. um, I'll just put it that way. Like I didn't play Mirage, and I haven't played since Origins. Um, and mostly that's because they went with the creative direction that I didn't really get into.
Yeah.
Like they went into a creative direction and also a gameplay direction that I also didn't really get into. It felt like a different game, to be quite honest. And I believe with Odyssey and um, I got Odyssey, never played it, but a lot of the game echoed what Origins did, which is why I never played it.
Yeah.
Like I know that. And Valhalla was a little bit of a return to form, but not really. Just they started to return to form
Yeah.
on that, and but it was still really a true successor to Odyssey and Origins, and you know, Mirage was supposed to be the true to form, but even then, I think Mirage kind of got it. It didn't get the greatest reviews last year, um, from like actual Assassin's Creed fans of like, yeah, it to my knowledge, it was not like a lot of people were. I think I think it was a case of a same old situation.
Yeah.
Um, but so I mean the past four releases I have not played, like big releases,
Mm-hmm.
and I've played every single one of them up until that point. I loved them all pretty much except Origins and well not Origins. I shouldn't say like I didn't love Origins. It just wasn't the game for me. Like I got halfway through and I just to me it just stopped being Assassin's Creed and that that was a big thing for me. So I mean when I knew that they were going there's quite a few like Assassin's Creed ideas that I had as far as where they could go and what they should do as far as time periods and stuff and one of them was a like taking place in Japan and
Yeah.
like I think it's yeah it is yeah it's Japan.
Yeah.
So like um having a I was like that's a really cool idea. Um when they announced Codename Red, I was like okay, we're actually going to do it. That's cool. And I was hoping Mirage would get um more acclaim because if Mirage got more acclaim, then I would be more hopeful of this game. Um,
Sure.
and watching the trailer, it feels like a clash. I'll be honest with you. It feels like a clash between the new era of Assassin's Creeds and the old era, right?
Yeah.
And you know, that's where I get a little get a little iffy because it's like, on one end, I'm excited because it's like, oh, cool, they're doing exactly what I wanted, but on the other hand, like you have so there's two protagonists in this game, right? There's going to be, I don't know the names of them. Like there's the traditional assassin and then there's the samurai, right?
Yeah.
Those are going to be the two protagonists in the game.
The samurai is Yasuke, the first black samurai.
Right.
Just he's an actual historical figure,
Right. That I did hear
which
about.
is
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. I just didn't know the name.
Yeah.
But I guess I take issue with the design of this of his look
You
as
mean
a
like
samurai.
you think he's too bulky? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not that he's too bulky. That's perfectly fine. The problem is, one, there's no identifying features that he's an assassin,
Sure.
right? So I can at least, it's kind of similar to Odyssey in that regard of like
Yeah.
there's really no identifying features, and that was the only game that had it like that too. I mean, with even Origins had some identifying features, but the um, so I'm like, man, couldn't we work into the design? I know it's like you're trying to be more historical and everything, and I get it, but like
Yeah.
it's historical fiction for a reason. We can tweak the design to make it look look more like an assassin. And maybe I got to look more at the design of it, but from my first initial thoughts of the trailer, I was like, it's like, is he not going to be an assassin and just like surprise he's the villain of the, you know what I mean, of the,
Yeah.
like maybe he has like a 360 character arc, you know what I mean, halfway through, but I don't know, I'm just kind of speculating out loud. But the other issue I have with the design is that when he's fighting his enemies, he looks exactly the same as far as color scheme wise. There's no differentiation,
Oh,
and
sure.
that kind of is like, it's not a big deal, but it kind of bothers me a little bit. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And so I guess my point being is like, I love the concept of the game. I love the concept of the story, and I love the concept of the characters. I get a little iffy of the game direction that they want to go on.
Sure.
That's really what I want. Like I'm a little skeptical about, and granted, it's just a cinematic trailer. I
Yeah.
want to know what gameplay is. I really do.
Yeah. I want to see how
And
this game plays.
that'll sway me. Um, and you can slap the classic Assassin's Creed theme in at the end of the trailer, but that only works for so long. I'll just put
Yeah.
it that way. It's got to feel like an Assassin's Creed game too. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I get
that's
you.
kind of just my thoughts. I kind of rambled on, but what do you think about the game, and what were your thoughts on the trailer?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what you said actually that like the shinobi fits slots right in with that like
Hmm.
assassin tradition,
Hmm.
but Yasuke felt like I can see why you might want to work with that character, and if they do a good job with it, then by all means. But
Hmm.
he does seem like a weird pick for an Assassin's Creed game. Is the only like, you know, uh, I would say that like a samurai, just any samurai, is kind of a weird pick, because that's not like the you know the shinobi is what you're looking for as like an assassin. So I'm interested to see that it does seem like they're. I like the idea of the dual protagonist thing. Um, Yasuke is a cool figure, so whatever.
Hmm.
So that kind of offsets the concern I
Right.
have about the assassin thing. Um, I I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think yeah, like will it I I I think you're right. I just want to see gameplay. I want to see how it plays. I'm probably not gonna play this because I've never played an Assassin's Creed game. Um, yeah, Caleb, you were wrong. Um,
Wrong about what?
Assassin's Creed Mirage was not the game I played.
Oh, oh, okay,
uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
I was like, oh yeah, I just contradicted your guess, huh?
Mhm.
But yeah, like I've never played an AC game, and like I mean, unless this game looks like super awesome when I see it,
Mhm.
which it could, but I've never known Assassin's Creed games to look super awesome. um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't know. Those are kind of. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
No, I think that kind of that pretty much sums that up for me.
Okay.
Um, um, yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on. So Caleb, finished. You kind of finished a project uh, over the past couple of weeks, right? Like this is kind of the end of an era for you in some way.
Hmm.
So, yeah, tell us about FF16, The Rising Tide.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. So honestly, I was kind of concerned about the timing of this DLC being so close to me beating Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yeah.
But it was good because it was like a good way to handle the withdrawal of like, oh my god, I gotta wait 4 more years for the next game, and like that post game withdrawal of just like, oh, that was amazing. I don't know what to do. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Type of situation. Um, so it was nice to go back to um 16 and kind of have its little have the moment of just, okay, I'm back in this world. Let's see what else we can follow up on. So as far as the timing of this DLC, it was really good timing. I will take back uh, that
Yeah.
that concern I have. Um, that said, though, I was very concerned going into this DLC after Echoes of the Fallen, um, DLC that released in December, um, and almost made me kind of not want to play this DLC because of how Echoes of the Fallen was. In that, it just to kind of summarize what my feelings was towards that DLC, it was very meh, to
Yeah.
put it lightly. Like the story of it's okay. It doesn't really like add anything much to the lore. Like you're going up, like the level design's pretty cool, but you're pretty much going up. It's kind of like a castle run, like you're diving into the castle type of situation of like typical castle run of a game, and where you're trying to just get to the top type
Yeah.
of approach. And so like, but there's like three new characters that they introduce in it. They're all annoying, as far as like that goes, and it really took away from like the experience of actually just enjoying the DLC. And then you get to the boss fight, and it's actually a pretty fun boss fight, I will admit. Really cool.
Okay.
Not my favorite boss fight of that game, but like it's a pretty fun boss fight, and um it it honestly felt like, weirdly enough, like a tech demo of a DLC, if that makes sense. So like,
Yeah.
it felt like, okay, this DLC is really just to test out what we can do with the DLC, whereas our actual DLC is going to be the Rising Tide DLC, which is which is the one that I just played. So that being said, it's and then the other issue I had with Echoes of the Fallen, and it's not really against the DLC itself. It's the big um, weakness that FF16 DLCs are going to be, in that
Yeah.
it takes place. It has to take place before the ending of the game,
Yeah.
right? So you already know what's going to happen. There's, as far as a level of stakes, you know that these characters are like not in any immediate danger, if that makes sense. That's a
Yeah. That is a problem.
huge problem going into both DLCs. So, however, this one, I I I I struggle with the Rising Tide DLC. On one hand, I understand why it's a DLC, but the other thing is that it would have fit really well into just the main story of the game.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, other than it, gameplay wise, and the like, it would have been a good hidden side story, if that makes sense. Like, you unlock it, like you would have to earn it. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
but I can understand why it would be cut at the same time, because it doesn't change the momentum of the plot in like the original story, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess that's one of the key things that you have to do with the DLC. But you know, basically, just to give a little story summarization without going into spoilers, they find a side quest opens up pretty much about a like someone needing help over in um the God, I can't even remember the name, but like the Empire
Yeah.
area. And so you go to do that, and then it opens up a whole new hidden area of the game, right? And you're under, it's like this hidden village that's trying to keep themselves out of the outside world, and they've put in a spell to make them hidden, and inherently it gets rid of the like it gives the people of the village that everything's fine outside, an illusion that everything's fine outside too. So there's like none of that pink skies or that was going on during the during the events of the story.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just like, without going into too details, you can gather a little bit of that in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not I don't think I'm spoiling too much. And obviously this is to explain the one icon that was missing and was referenced in the base game, and that was Leviathan.
Yeah.
Um, which was, when you knew that was name dropped in the in the game, you knew, oh yeah, that's prime DLC material right
Yep.
there. Like, it
Yep.
was like, um, there, and that's what also helps. It felt like it was something like an intentional DLC. You know, that that also helped my experience of it this time around. Um, but I will say, like, the area itself, this new area that opens up is beautiful. Like, they really outdid themselves in just trying to in creating a brand new environment that looks beautiful, that, graphically, yeah, it was really good. They and it felt like a true, like with the areas that you would open up in the base game, it felt like the true section of, like, the way the storytelling was, where you'd go to this new area and then a bunch of side quests would open up, and you had open opportunity to do what you wanted at the same time. Whereas the Echoes of the Fallen DLC, you're on one straight linear path, if that makes
Uh,
sense.
yeah.
And this one's, and it's pretty open, and it's nice to, you know, I took my time with this DLC. I mean, you could probably get this DLC done within 5 to 6 hours. I probably got it done within 10, to be honest. Like, I just took my time with it, enjoyed it. Um, the that said, the new enemies you have to face, like, there's quite a few boss fights actually in this DLC that are really fun. Um, and then the Leviathan fight is extremely fun, especially there's a moment in that fight where the game tells you to get good. um and uh it I felt like a different player after I got done with that fight. Like, I'm like, I feel like I've been playing this game the whole wrong the whole time as far as that goes. And I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Now it's like I want to play more. So it was a really good, really really cool fight. Um, it is up there as one of my favorite boss fights of that game. I don't know if I want to say it's my
Okay.
favorite, but it's like probably top 2 or 3.
Oh wow.
So
What's your
it's up there.
favorite? I don't think I've ever asked you that. What's your favorite
I
boss
think
fight?
I think I think my favorite is the Bahamut one.
Okay, yeah. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
That was the highest point in that game for me.
Um. So, what was I gonna say? Oh, I think you would really enjoy this DLC. To be honest with you, um, I don't know if Echoes of the Fallen is required. I really hope it's not
Okay.
in order to play it, because it's not really necessary aside from one throwaway line, if that makes
Gotta
sense.
love
So,
those
like,
throwaway lines.
um, I would at least I mean, it's up to you whether or not you want to play Echoes of the Fallen and stuff. But if you're gonna try one of the DLCs, definitely do the Rising Tide one.
Okay.
Um, and another thing is that um the other thing is that we we have to sorry my oh, that's what I was gonna say. The like, the music in that game,
Oh yeah.
like in the DLC, they took that trailer music in the original
Oh.
reveal trailer that they never used in the base game,
Yeah.
and made that like the overarching theme of the DLC.
That's cool.
Like, as far as theme music goes, it's a real treat. I will say that. I hope that's not too much of a spoiler, but
I
it
don't think so.
is worth listening to those tracks itself. Um, sorry, I'm kind of going through some technical issues real quick. Sorry. Um, but the that it's a really fun DLC. I couldn't have asked for a better time than than that. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my thoughts on
Okay.
FF16 DLC.
All right. Well, high praise for sure. Um, yeah. Well, let's move on to the mystery game.
Okay.
And sad to say, Caleb, you did not get it on any of them.
What? Really?
Nope. I think you
I'm
were.
shocked. I thought for sure it was Forspoken, but
I'm actually a little scared about what your book club game is gonna be. Um, but we'll but actually no, I don't think this is on PS Plus, so I think it's fine. Um,
okay.
no, the game that I played, the mystery game, is Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Okay. It's not the book club game, but
Okay, that's good. That's good. That
okay.
so maybe not as controversial. I feel like when I said controversial,
I
what I
went too hard into it.
well I feel like when I was saying controversial, I was hoping you would maybe think like in terms of you, because I know
Oh, in
you
terms of me, yeah.
don't really have anything nice to say about Jedi Survivor, but everybody else does.
Right.
So like for me, I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, Jedi Survivor is controversial in the sense that like it had a rough
Mhm.
launch and Caleb didn't like it when everyone else did like it.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so I played Jedi Survivor. Um, I've been wanting to play it for like a year, but then the launch happened,
Mhm.
and um, and
Not not so encouraging words by me.
yeah,
To
and
get-
you were like, nah, it's not worth it. It keeps crashing, and I was like, man, that sucks. Finally, a couple weeks ago, I picked it up on sale. Um, and yeah, I played it. And I have to say, I had a pretty good time with it. I don't,
Mhm.
I didn't encounter that many technical issues. The game actually didn't crash once for me. um,
What?
yeah,
What?
not a single time. At least not
That's
that I can
wild to me.
remember. Um,
Oh, it's only wild because I encountered it so much. If
I
that makes
I
sense.
was playing on PC,
Oh,
so
okay.
maybe
That could
maybe
be why.
there have been some patches on the PC version. Um, but yeah, I didn't experience a single crash. I was getting like some frame drops here and there, but that's to be
Mhm.
expected. Um, I wasn't too shocked by that. I will say the game did not look great all of the time, and I have to assume that has something to do with the PC version being kind of borked. But
Mm,
I'm not sure about that. Because there were some instances where like the lighting would make Cal's hair like super orange,
mhm.
or just like small moments like that, but nothing too severe. But yeah, I thought and we can go into spoilers, but I thought the combat was a drastic improvement over Fallen Order. I just had a really good time with it. Um, it was basically the same, but they added stances. The stances were all really cool. The um,
Yeah.
The traversal was really cool too. I keep saying I would love a Respawn platformer because they just
Hmm.
get that uh like moving around as Cal Kestis is just so fun. It's just a really great time. The air dash is super cool. Uh, uh,
Yeah, the
the
air dash was really cool.
the grapple hook was a great
Hmm.
addition. Um, the level design was definitely a step up as well. I think I really enjoyed the level design. I didn't do a lot of exploring, but what little I did was all pretty cool. Um, yeah, and I actually, I don't think the story is like super amazing, but it has its highs for me. Um, Specifically, the Darth Vader fight. Um,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I never got to say that fight. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
um,
that was a real treat.
that was a treat. Uh, I did have it spoiled for me that there would be a betrayal. So
Hmm.
Bode's betrayal didn't exactly come as a shock to me, but I thought that like that whole segment from like when they get back to Jeddah to
Hmm.
Sears' death, basically. Uh,
Hmm.
I thought all of that was like that was 10 out of 10 Star Wars stuff for me.
Hmm.
Getting to play as Seer versus Darth
Yeah,
Vader, that was just all excellent. But
I didn't spoil that, did I?
no, you didn't spoil that. No, a guide spoiled that.
Oh, okay.
I was trying
I
to
was like,
figure
I was
out.
trying to think back.
Yeah, I
It's
was
like,
trying to figure out how far in the game I was because I was like, I want to beat it by the next podcast, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able
gotcha.
to. And but I was. Uh, yeah, I
I
don't know. Those are kind of my thoughts. Caleb, if you wanna jump
Yeah, I
in.
mean, well, I'll see. This is going to be more of a questionnaire a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as what I thought of the villain twist, like I unfortunately saw that coming like the moment he appeared on screen. Like initially,
Oh, okay.
I was just like I knew it right then. I'm like and it's just like narratively, I guess
Yeah,
I've seen it before. Like it felt like, oh, I've seen this before. I know what this is. Like type of situation. Like
yeah,
even before the first mission's done. You know what I'm saying?
sure.
And and I'm like, that's probably what's going to happen here. And but that's not the reason why I didn't like the villain twist so much. It was more of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way if I remember it correctly, is you have that first mission with him, and then he really does nothing for a large portion of that game, and then he comes back into the picture, and then we have that like we have the twist on him. So
Um, I mean,
I guess that
he's there. Like he's still
he's there,
like
but he's lurking.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah, I guess like uh my defense of it would be that like
Hmm.
he's lurking as much as any other character lurks.
Right.
Is kind of my
This is a good.
like and I will say it does feel a little like played out.
Yeah.
And I mean the problem is that this between 3 and 4 in Star Wars is just played out,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of boring the way that
Mhm.
uh that kind of works. Like the only way uh for me, kind of the only way to redeem some of that era of Star Wars, cuz like what was cool about the Clone Wars is that it was expanding on something that didn't get a lot of attention. Um,
Mhm.
and you can kind of make it the argument that like Rebels and the new Jedi games are doing that for the era between 3 and 4. The problem with
Mhm.
that is that like the original trilogy is so set in stone, that it's hard to like truly expand on it. Now I think the other part of me is just like, man, would I love to get like Obi-Wan in
Right.
one of these games, right? Like that's my like problem is I want that Star Wars fan service. I want I
Mhm.
want like I mean what I really want is for Jedi 3 to take place between 6 and 7. Um take place during like the Mandalorian or something like that. Um I mean,
Mhm.
I want Cameron Monaghan to appear in other Star Wars things. I like I think it's kind of a shame that he's been only in the games so far. But yeah, I don't know. I will agree it does feel played out, but it was also like, okay, this is some like good Star Wars
Right.
Jedi material for me.
Once the turn happens, that
Yeah,
game gets a lot better. You
sure.
know what I'm saying?
I can see that.
Um, and that's where things did pick up for me. And I loved the Darth Vader fight. I really did. I it was hard, really hard. I mean, I don't know. I was playing that game on hard up until that point, and I had to go down to easy in
Oh,
order to
okay.
defeat it. Yeah. I don't know if you had any kind of similar situation, but like,
I played on the middle difficulty the whole way through.
uh,
Um,
gotcha.
and it was I found it I found it easier than Fallen Order, but I think part of that is I've played Souls games since then. I've played
Gotcha.
Elden Ring, I've played Lies of P, even Stellar Blade, right? Like I've cut my
Hmm.
teeth a little bit more, so I'm more like because like compared to those games, Jedi Survivor is easy, right? Like I would have to play on Jedi Grandmaster to make it hard for myself. Um, but yeah, the base difficulty, I didn't find it super difficult personally.
I get that. I mean, I didn't. Aside from the Darth Vader fight, that was
Sure.
really the tough one. I mean, it was a well designed fight.
Yeah.
Well designed fight. Um,
Agreed. That moment where
you.
he gets up from the fire, like,
Oh yeah.
mwah, like I was like, this is the coolest video game of all time.
um. Yeah. I mean. Uh. So, what did you think of the ending? I guess that would be my
Yeah.
question.
Um, I don't know. It felt like okay. It felt like, kind of like the end of the Phantom Menace where I'm like, okay, this is cool. It's cool to have, the burial scene or the
Hmm.
cremating scene, I guess. Um, I think it was a moment where I would have liked to see like where they kind of end up in some way, because like we're getting a third game. This is a trilogy, so we know Cal is going to end up somewhere. Like this game isn't where he settles down, right?
No.
So I want to see, like, does he end up on a different planet? Does he start a new Jedi temple and start training Jedi? You know,
Hmm.
is uh you know my I think my like theory would be that, like, or my hope would be that like his next game leads directly into the first episode of The Mandalorian, where it's like uh he's involved with how Grogu got to where he was at the
Right.
at that point. Like that would be, and like that's like my desire. Maybe that's not gonna happen, and that's fine. But yeah, it just feels like what's frustrating to me is it's like, okay, I can live with all of these characters dying, but like if these games are canon to the Star Wars ethos, I need them to have some kind of effect on it, right? I need them to have some kind of lasting consequences, even if
Right.
even if Cal doesn't appear in anything else after the third game, right? I still want him to have left a mark on the Star Wars universe. And so, having three Jedi die, it makes sense thematically. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I mean, again, I think ultimately, like, I want Obi-Wan, I want Luke Skywalker, I want
Right.
friggin' Darth Maul, right? Like, I want like, I want
That
like,
would be. I mean, I would not count out Darth Maul as a possibility for the third game.
yeah.
I would not,
I mean, what I really
because
want
I
is
mean,
Star Killer.
yeah, me too. um, but I've been wanting that, like, on several different Star Wars interpretations and
Yeah, they're just not.
specu.
They're not
Honestly,
willing to touch it.
it's yeah, it's actually hurtful. Sometimes to just even think about it,
Yeah,
um, it being a possibility. But at least with, I think it helps a little bit that Ahsoka has released um since Survivor. I was a little iffy about exploring things outside the galaxy per se. Um,
yeah.
when Survivor really introduced that concept. I don't know if it's in the galaxy or not, but I want to say it's outside of the galaxy.
It's
Um,
yeah. It's like it's hidden.
yeah, and so I wasn't really like too on board with that story, with that storyline. Um, that said, now that time has passed, that's not really much of a bother for me.
Sure.
Um, I will say the third game, I think, needs to, actually, now that I think about it, you know, you're absolutely right in the regard that I would say that Cal needs to really leave his mark in the third
Yeah.
game, and something really impactful. Um, and I think you do bring up a good idea. I don't know if we necessarily need to limit ourselves between 3 and 4,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, there's tons of Star Wars stories you can go
If
down,
if if
but if
Cal's only mark left on the Star Wars universe is that like he's the reason they know about the Death Star plans, then
mhm,
that's great in my opinion.
right,
Like that's a
mhm,
direct like thing that he did that ties in with the original trilogy,
mhm,
makes sense because I don't know if we know exactly how the rebels found out about the Death Star at all. I don't know if maybe we do know that and I'm just forgetting, but um, yeah, something like that. Um, yeah, sorry to interrupt. I was just throwing out an
no,
idea.
yeah, I'm kind of sitting on ideas too. One of the ideas you mentioned Darth Maul. We still don't know. We know a lot of Darth Maul's beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah,
Um, but there's like one crucial piece. I, I I don't know how much of Rebels you watched, so I'll
you
tiptoe
can you
around
can
things.
you can spoil Rebels for me. I know how I know his fate.
Okay, so you know his fate, and
Yeah,
then kind of how the Clone Wars end. You watched the ending of the Clone Wars, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
actually just rewatched that
so
with my dad last night. It was good.
honestly, I'm kind of really tempted to rewatch that myself. um, but the there's a little time gap there,
Yeah,
and this is a product of it. All fits perfectly except one thing. Um, because like at the end of the Clone Wars, he's like, "I'm gonna go into hiding." Makes sense. Perfect way to segue him into Rebels. But
yeah,
there's a little issue, a little plot thread that happens um, in between that point, and that's when it was revealed. And you've seen Solo, right?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When it was revealed in Solo that he was the leader of this of a
Oh
massive
yeah,
crime syndicate that has carried over from his crimes, like has evolved from his crime syndicate that he had in the Clone Wars, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So, um, it's like he's still being active and he's still making moves and like kind of in the height of his own power.
yeah,
So really, we have this like little gap in between that point and Rebels, where essentially he loses all that power.
yeah,
And this is something that I've been like, even if it's not like a Jedi Survivor follow up, and now we're kind of going a little off topic again. um, Seems to be the theme of this episode for me.
yeah,
But there's like something tells me there's a really good Darth Maul storyline of how
yeah.
he loses that power. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And you can absolutely do that and work it into um, a Jedi Survivor. I meant a Jedi, whatever
Game.
they want to call it,
Yeah,
plot. And I think that would be a huge pull for
yeah,
fans because like imagine having Darth Maul as your final boss.
yeah. Well, you already had a Darth Vader fight, so like,
Right.
how do you top that? Darth Maul is
Hmm.
the final boss. Like, I'm not saying that Darth Maul is more iconic than Darth Vader. I'm just saying that like,
Right.
that's a way you could top it.
Exactly. So that's kind of me speaking out loud, the kind of little speculations, like, inevitably they're never going to do exactly what I said, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, but you know, I'm glad you really enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
It does make me happy that you enjoyed it, and it does make me happy that you didn't have nearly as many technical issues as I did.
Yeah,
I mean, that was
I was like,
that was the real issue,
yeah, I
right?
was like all the way in, and I was like, man, this has actually been pretty smooth, all things considered. Like it's not perfect from a technical perspective, but I do think they've made a lot of improvements since.
There was like moments where I was flying off the map, falling through the map, like it was game crashing all the time. Like it was just obviously bad frame rate drops.
Yeah.
It was a technical disaster. Was put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm glad you had, and it's good that they did some refinement because the initial patches they said they refined things, and I I never got that refined, if that makes sense. So, and I updated that game. So, but yeah. Um,
All right.
do you have any final thoughts
Hmm.
on Jedi Survivor?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I'm
Okay.
I'm excited for the third game.
Yeah.
It'll be a while, but I'm looking forward to it. So, all right. We have one final thing,
Mhm.
and it's a reveal. Caleb, what game am I going to be playing next?
So, I mean, do do say if you've played this game.
Okay.
Um, I if you've played this one, well, I won't say it. But if you've played this one, then let me know,
Okay.
and we'll rework it. Or if you don't want to play this one, I also understand.
Okay.
But
Now I'm interested.
it is a game that I think you would enjoy. So with that being said, I sent it in the chat.
Oh. Ah, God of War. I knew it. I was like, oh, he's gonna say God of War, isn't he?
Yep.
Uh, so, the first God of War game. Okay, yeah, I'd be down.
Well, I would just say 2018.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. 28. Yeah, that's what
y-
I meant.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
God of War
Um
2018. Okay.
have you played that one?
I have played the first like 2 hours, but I would
Okay.
be, or maybe not even that much. But I would be down to, I'd be down to go back to it.
Okay. Because so I was going through things, and I was like trying to find a game that you haven't played and that I think you would enjoy. And I'm not gonna lie, I would I would look at your profile and make sure that
Yeah,
you know what I mean, but
yeah, yeah.
and make sure you have played it. And it did say you did play it, and I was like, but I'm pretty sure you haven't played it. So now I'm
Yeah.
like going back and forth of like, I don't know if I have one or not. But yeah, I think you would really enjoy this one. It might prompt you to play the sequel to that. I think the sequel is really great, but if there's going to be one of them that I would introduce you slash have you enjoy, it would probably be this one because you don't need to really know the previous ones
Sure, yeah.
to to play. Um,
That makes sense.
so I did I did ultimately decide on 2018. The other thing is that it's time commitment. It's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad
Um,
at all.
I mean the next one has a longer time commitment.
Yeah.
I'll say that almost doubles the runtime of this game. But um, so yeah, I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on it. It's you. I think you have it on PlayStation Plus.
Yep.
If not, I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around $10 or so.
Yeah, I have it.
At
I have,
GameStop. So
I have that game. So
okay,
cool.
all
All
right.
right,
So yeah, I'm looking forward to your thoughts on that. That
I'm
is,
interested.
I am very very curious as to what you think of this interpretation is.
Okay. All right. Well, then that means I guess by what do we want to say? Our podcast on the 12th of June is when I'll be that's 2 podcasts from now. That's when I'll
Yeah,
be talking about it.
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I played the first hour and I was like, this isn't really speaking to me right now, but now I have like extra motivation
Hmm.
to play through it. So, yeah, I'm excited. Now I have to be thinking about like, okay, what games has Caleb played? What,
Hmm.
yeah, because the first time we did this, it was like, okay, Nier's a good pick, and then we did Knuckles, and now we're doing God of War. Now this will be my first like real pick of uh, the book club.
Right,
So
exactly.
yeah, all right. Well,
Yeah.
was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we get out of here?
I think that's it.
All right.
Um, yeah, I'm just looking forward to our next podcast.
Yeah, looking
Um,
forward to that. Looking forward to the next podcast will be before Summer Game Fest and before all of the showcases. So we'll be talking a little bit about some other stuff. I think we're going to be bringing back my crazy lore segment next time. And I think maybe Trailer Watch will be back too.
mhm.
So yeah, with that, I'm sorry, I liked that.